All right, welcome everybody to the second edition of the Leadership Livestream. My name is Nick Sakis with Amplified Marketing Group, and we have a very special guest today. But before we get into that and I introduce Catherine and our special guest, I wanted to do some quick housekeeping. We are streaming this live on Facebook on the page, right? So there's about a 20-second delay. What I want you guys to do, if you have any comments for Catherine or Cyndee, just put them in the comment section below. And we're going to do any kind of Q&A or anything like that at the end of the show. Also, if you guys were on live last week, you realize that Facebook has been having some issues with everybody staying at home. People are doing a lot more live streams, so it is a little bit glitchy. It's not 100% perfect. If we do end up dropping off the live stream, we are recording this program, so we will show it at a later date. Also, if you have any issues actually viewing this or anything like that, I'm going to put my cell phone number in the comments so you guys can text me if you have any technical issues along the show, but I will be monitoring the comments as we go throughout. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce, like I said last week, the hostess with the mostest, your president, Catherine Sakis.
Hi, everyone. I want to welcome all of our Women's Council members, our strategic partners, our friends and supporters. Thank you to all of you who are online watching today. I want to start out by reminding you of the mission statement of Women's Council. We are a network of successful realtors advancing women as business leaders in the industry and communities we serve. Our challenge during these times is to maintain our success, be it financial, personal, and now health-wise, most importantly, and to continue to advance women and business leaders in the communities we serve. Leadership is just as an important role now as ever. Remember, I always say you don't have to take on the world to be a leader. Each one of us is a leader in our businesses and our homes. We hope that this Leadership Live will give you support, education, and tools that you need to help you thrive in this new environment. Well, in today's Leadership Spotlight, we'll begin by bringing you a special guest. And our guest today is Cyndee Haydon. Cyndee is currently the chairman of the board of the Pinellas Realtor Association, who's also one of our strategic partners, and also a realtor herself. Cyndee is a native Floridian and attended the University of Florida and majored in computer science business, where she started working for IBM right after school. She shortly thereafter met her husband, Jack, and they continued to work for IBM. And that was 1985, I believe. So their last IBM move brought them to Tampa. And then shortly they were asked to move to Texas, and they said no. They weren't leaving paradise. So that's where they started their real estate business. She also has two great boys named Alex and Sean. And as I said, is the 2020 chair of the Pinellas Realtor Organization. And Cyndee, I have to start off with an apology. When we first started marketing this, we put your little header as president. So picked up on that, changed it. So sorry. So no, without any further ado, I want to welcome Cyndee Haydon.
Hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, Cyndee, great to see you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, I thought of something you missed in that bio.
What?
Thanks to your leadership and vision, I am also a 2020 new member of WCR myself personally. Whoop, whoop.
That is just a great thing to celebrate. And you stole a little of my thunder. I was going to bring it up a little farther down the road, but that's okay. Let's get it all out there now.
Oh, I'm sorry. You do such a great job in sharing that vision and mission. I just wanted to let people know that I've been a realtor for 15 years, and by you reaching out and really thinking of our region, which is really been powerful as a leader, that brought many of us in, some who've never been a member. So thank you for all you're doing.
Well, thank you for coming on board so enthusiastically. We really appreciate your support individually and the entire Pinellas Realtor organization. Cyndee's referring to a meeting we had back October of last year. I reached out to the organization, met with Cyndee and David Bennett, their CEO, and had a very fruitful and productive meeting for both of us. So welcome to the show and welcome again to Women's Council. So my first question, basics. You've been a realtor since 2005. Coronavirus aside, what would you say is the biggest change in business now versus '05? Let's talk a little bit prior to Corona.
Sure. I would say that the Corona's, revving it up, but I would say the way that video and technology has expanded many of our ability, and looking back in 2005, the blogging was new, the internet, really you had a much easier opportunity to be found, but over time we've seen video become a much more important piece of it, and ironically, many of us, including myself in the beginning, were self-conscious on camera, right? And so what I think the technology has done and what we are experiencing right now is everybody is forced to get comfortable. And I think it's a really great way for us to do a better job with our clients around the world, because where we live tends to attract people not only here, but all over. So I would say I started in video in 2006. So I've been doing it 14 years. So I'm a little bit, more familiar, but I see what I did then versus like what what Nick's doing is now making it interactive, right? And bringing it more the conversation. So it's exciting.
Yeah. Speaking of those days, I remember a big deal. Woohoo. You actually, as an agent, had to pay for syndication if you wanted it. It was not a feature of our MLSs. So that was all that,
Wow.
And we have to keep topping ourselves technology wise. Do you think your experience at IBM helped you jump right into all the technology, or were you a programmer? I'm not sure on that.
So I actually have a computer science business degree, but I worked in IBM in college in the marketing end, and then I went to development and then ended up in the marketing. And so what I would say for me personally was having a strong marketing background was probably the most beneficial, and then not being afraid of technology, right? So nothing I really knew before I came in technology, because I worked with mainframes, really helped. But I think what I see from people is the willingness to fall forward, the willingness to get in and learn, right? Right now, I'm working on learning Matterport, and again, I've done video and I've done tours for a long time, but now we have a need for a 360 solution. So it's just being willing to get in, get dirty, learn it, or hire someone that knows how to do it to help us, like Nick, right? So that's really been an important piece.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate. I have Nick.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah.
Nick, if you ever want to be adopted, just like you got my number.
Right.
I'm not letting him go. So, okay, so old school, new school, and then now we have the extra layer. So on top of what we just discussed, what do you think the single biggest change in this Corona environment?
Well, from a technology standpoint, it's interesting. I've been using Zoom technology for about 3 years. I'm in by referral only, so they use it for all their seminars and courses, and I was a coach and I used it there. And so I've been using it, but I had not really adapted it for my clients.
Right.
And so just this week, I met with 2 different sellers and had a listing consultation, one of which was 80 years old with no technology experience and totally, it took us about 20 minutes to get it together. And yet what came out of it is actually, and I hope people hear this piece, she was having challenges on her end, and I think as realtors and leaders, by just staying calm, letting them know we'll get through it, letting them know that, Again, we got their back. That patience and calm is what people need from us, and it's what we deliver every day. But what I noticed is when we got it all set up and working and got into the listening presentation and the conversations, there was a level of rapport and calm and trust. And so I just would encourage people that, as awkward as you feel, maybe as we're all doing new things, I'm learning the whiteboard and annotating and all these other features that I've never really had to use. If we just stay grounded and calm and be the leaders that we are, other people feed off of that. And I think people need that more than anything right now.
I agree. I think those are excellent points. And like I've always said, you don't have to take over the world to be a leader. You do it in your own space. And
Yes.
just by able to reassure those clients and walk them through the process. And kudos to you for 2 listing appointments on Zoom. I haven't done that yet. I've done everything else, I think, on Zoom. Haven't done that yet. So that's a great experience to share. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, as just a day-to-day situation, what have been your biggest challenges day-to-day, operationally, schedule-wise, routine-wise? What do you see as your biggest challenges there?
What is mine right now?
Yes.
Okay. So I found myself the first week, maybe 5 days, I don't know, but for the first week, I immediately found myself experiencing what I call hurricane fog, because we experience hurricanes here. It's this kind of like the news is going and this is going, and I could tell I really didn't even have the capacity to think clearly, right? I mean, it was just bumbling around and not very productive. But I think one of the good things that plugged in for me right about a few days in was really focusing on Pinellas Realtor members and what did Pro need to be doing as a staff and organization to meet their needs, because there were so many things that we could do. But what I learned from that and took forward pretty quickly is the more that I focus on other people, the better I am from a mental state of mind, from a health state of mind. I will say that for many people that know me, May 1st, it'll be 2 years that I went keto and lost 80 pounds. And
Nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've maintained it, right? And then what I will say is that the first 2 weeks of being in this stay at home and being isolated, I sort of ate like it was the end times. And all of a sudden, I was like, I'm going to have to go on these Zoom calls naked, and no one wants to do that. So, about a week ago, I got back on my self-care. I got back on eating healthy. And so I think for me, what I've noticed is it is important to kind of take care of myself and get a routine. And though it's different, I mean, I'm coming to you from an office in the house. That makes all the difference. So I think the biggest challenge that I hear most people talking is trying to develop their new normal, because we just heard we have 30 more days. And if people just sit at home overeating and in a fog, they're kind of signing their own demise, really, as realtor. I mean, any business owner, right? I mean, there's so many opportunities even in this uncertainty that we could talk about as we keep going.
So much of what you're saying is resonating with me. And I know from that first, I guess people thought it was preliminary a few weeks ago when I started to recognize things were happening and made the massive trip to the grocery store and just bought ridiculous amounts of food. And all those calls from relatives from out of state. And I was like, oh no, this is just like a hurricane, but with electricity. We're good. We're good.
Right.
And got my 5 extra bags of chips, that kind of thing. And then just what you're saying, I experienced, woke up it was a Thursday morning. I'll never forget it, in the first early weeks where the NBA had canceled, the NCAA. And I said, oh my gosh, we're up against something much bigger than we ever dreamed of. And that's when I proactively immediately thought of Women's Council, contacted GTAR, said, what are the plans? What are the shutdown plans? And immediately put a whole plan of action into Women's Council. And you're right, when your focus goes off yourself to other things. Now, of course, I've had to sense focus on client, customer, business, but also, church related groups and other charity groups that I'm a part of. You feel a lot better when you're more concerned whether somebody else has food than
Yes.
you do. So, a big proponent of that, and routine. And growing up in my house, Nick knows I have a big thing about get up, get dressed.
That was the first thing I learned in my 20s when I got my license, and I would come strolling into the home office in my pajamas, and my mom would say, "What are you doing?" I said, "We don't have any appointments today. What do you mean? Go take a shower, get dressed, get in the office. You never know, right? Get
Right.
moving, get moving."
So
Yeah.
it's just funny to me, all these people that I'm on Zoom calls with, they're, "Oh, I'm sorry, I look so bad, but I'm home." I'm like, "No, you're on camera.
Yeah.
Get dressed,
Well, and I think when we were talking about at Pinellas Realtor Organization, setting up our plan to have our staff work from home. But this is true. Many of our members run teams in real estate. They run brokerages. They do exactly what you're saying. Is somebody today said that 8 a.m. is the new 7 a.m. And I would say there's a little truth in that, right? I don't think, not everybody, there's still a little lax in my day on that. But having something on the calendar at 9 o'clock or getting, it really helps pull you forward to getting the day started in a day that, like I said, our normal triggers of going to the office or going to here, they don't exist. So we have to kind of make our own new triggers.
Right. Agreed. So real estate aside, just say the business of real estate. You're a small business. Pro is full of small business. Whether you're an individual agent or you have a team, you're a small business. What has been your biggest challenge as a small business during this?
I think what is on my mind as a small business is what you said, the reality that we just heard yesterday, we're looking at least 30 more days.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the bell curve they're tracking goes all the way out to the 1st of August, the things I'm looking at. So as a small business owner, I'm looking at how do I manage my cash, right? How do I manage my expenses? How do I sustain to the other side? Because the fundamentals are all strong, but the reality is we're all looking at potentially less income coming in just based on, again, the possible fewer transactions, depending on who you are. Now I have some data that says currently February over March is stronger. We are still closing stuff and seeing that, but in my mind, I'm thinking conservatively, what if, right? I think somebody said the other day, there's three things. We're either going into a challenge, opportunity, or crisis, we're in a challenge, opportunity, or crisis, or we're coming out of it. Each person in the world, every day, we're in one of those three. And I guess for me, my mindset is looking at, okay, if I'm possibly going into a crisis, because I don't know what the future holds, I'm not in a crisis, right? I can pay my bills right now. I can do that kind of stuff. Some of our members may be in that, but if I am, what can I do to keep myself strong enough to survive to that other side, right? And that's just more infrastructure, more, I got on like most people and said, what do I have automatically billing me that I'm not using really and I need right now? Cancel it. Get rid of it.
Did you try to cancel realtor.com?
Yeah. Well, luckily I did that a long time ago because they do not. So no, don't even get me started.
I mean, good luck. You think you're all in this together. But those are words of wisdom. We have to always focus on it as a business. I immediately looked at all my accounts, all of my, never mind pipeline, who projected possible income, what was really there, what's realistic. and expenses and cut out any fluff immediately without waiting. Like, don't wait 2 months before you cut off the fluff. There's only like this much money. And I used to do a good bit of training, and I would tell new agents that you're not comfortable. You shouldn't be comfortable till you at least have 6 months worth of operating funds in your business account. And they would look at you like you have two heads, and say, like, don't go buy that designer purse when you have a good closing. No. So I think these are all good things to keep in mind and to focus on. And I know that's going to create really big challenges for a lot of the realtor population. So you gave us a lot of insight. Yeah. Go ahead, Nick.
I'll just say we're 60 to 90 days ahead of everybody, right? Always. Like the stuff that's closing now, as far as, our pipeline was 3 to 6 months ago, that's happening right now. So it'll be interesting to see as we keep going. That's why pressing forward and, like Cyndee was saying, doubling down. So, if you had a goal and your goal was to sell 2 houses a month, your new goal needs to be 4 houses, and hopefully you'll get 2. Like without a doubt.
Mm-hmm. And you're seeing, like, today's MLS had a lot more temporary off the market, a lot more skittish sellers, buyers. But again, Cyndee, like you're saying, we have to be the leaders. We have to be the calm. We're usually 99% of the time the calm in the transaction anyway, even in good times, as buyers and sellers, or sometimes both, are kind of going off the ledge, So that being said, I mean, you've been in business for a long time. You have a stable business, clearly a good handle on your financials. We're all genius in hindsight. What do you think you would have done differently or going forward differently to prepare for the future?
There's a couple of things in my personal finances that are still could have done faster. And I actually a year ago cut a lot of marketing expenses out. So, I mean, I cut about $4,000 a month. I used to use Zillow. I used to do realtor.com. I really tracked where my business was coming from and really got rid of, luckily we built a business that's, 56% referral, 44% repeat. And so I cleaned a lot of that up. I still, I have 2 houses right now. And so it would have been nice to unload that other one earlier, right? And so there's a lot of reasons why not, but that is probably the biggest thing in my personal situation.
I've carried 2 houses more than once in my career, and have come to the conclusion, like physician, heal thyself. We shouldn't be allowed to list and sell our own houses. It should be like a rule, like a physician, a surgeon can't operate on family. It should be the same. Yeah. So, okay, great insight. Personally, Cyndee, we appreciate it. So now on to chairman of the board.
Sure.
When you took it on, I'm sure you knew it was going to be time intensive. I'm sure you knew it was going to be stressful. I'm sure you knew it was going to be a lot of your personal and your business time. Expectations aside, what additional duties and time has this current crisis meant to you in terms of being chairman, excuse me?
Yeah, we're actually working on changing that title. It went to chairman at a time where they thought that was going to be a trend, and we're always the leader. So now we have to roll it back, but it's in a bylaw. It's the same thing. NAR sends me a button that says president. So I answer to all that, and much worse at times. But I would just tell you that I am so blessed because the staff and the leadership at Pinellas Realtor Organization are amazing. And at times like this, what I love is that they have been so willing to do whatever we thought would help our members. And we all kind of agreed, and it takes trust to be like this, that we might have a few glitches. Moving fast means you have to be willing to fail forward. And that a lot of trust, because if someone's going to criticize you or any of that kind of stuff in the team, it's like whether you're locked in hand or you're pulling apart. And so, from David's leadership on down, I mean, what I've seen from our staff is giving, 110 to 200%. Ironically, I look back and what I was looking forward to most of being chairman, quite honestly, is that we've engaged so much globally that I have not personally traveled a lot in my life. And so I was going to get to go to London and France and Toronto. And so that was really exciting for me personally as a CIPS and someone that hasn't done it. But the irony is, and it just goes to show that, God has a bigger plan than all of us, because my superpower probably is calm in a storm. And when I was newly married in the 1980s, on Christmas Day, someone broke in our house and burned it down, and we lost everything. 3,500 square foot brand new house.
Wow.
And at the time, my husband, and he had 2 children from a previous marriage. There were 4 of us living in the house. And we were at my parents' house for dinner. We got a call that said, you might want to come home. There's a fire. Well, you're in a fire and you've lost everything are kind of 2 different things, right? And what was interesting was I learned something about people in that moment. And my daughter and my husband felt very violated and very there was just this sadness and this inability, like it was just this, how can this be happening, right? And my attitude was, it's a garage sale at full price. So like many women, I had clothes that ranged a lot of sizes in my closet, and part of the fire damage was smoke damage, so I could still do it. And I'm like, I got a garage sale full price. And I was like, okay, the size 6s don't fit, but the insurance company's paying me back. And my point of that is not to make light of a fire or that, but I think that when times are in a crisis, there are people who can be that calm in a storm. And for me, it's been amazing to just feel so much compassion for our members that consumes my day. I mean, David and I are probably tighter than ever, and luckily we both have the same mindset and servant heart, and we just keep every day thinking about how can we do better, And the other thing that I look back is again, what we're accomplishing, none of us planned it. It wasn't in a strategic plan, right? But the ability to deliver NAR designations to our members wherever they are is amazing. The ability to have our staff get comfortable and work from home so that if we ever do have a hurricane or a crisis, it's like, we got this. To have our infrastructure be able to have that redundancy is important. So I look at it and go, I'm glad that I could be a leader at this time that's not afraid of thoughtful change and failing forward, and be honest enough to say we're doing the best job every day and listen to people, but also, not let naysayers slow us down. And if I could share something kind of cool, because when I did my installation, I talked about the power of V, right? And helping each other. And sometimes you have a vision and you don't know what opportunities will present. You and I had that opportunity, and I feel like we've been living into that. But when this happened, I said to David that I really felt like the whole state of Florida and really the country, but I was thinking about our neighbors in Florida. We all just got hit with a Cat 5 hurricane. And you've been around a long time, Catherine. I've been around, the realtor community 7 years in leadership and stuff working. Every time we have a hurricane, what's the first thing that the associations do, like Mexico Beach or Florida Realtors? What do? We start sending supplies. We start sending money, right?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, right. And so I said to David, really everybody got hit with a hurricane. And not everybody is where we are with technology and the ability to do some of the things we're able to do. So I reached out. I asked his permission and kind of got the board backing. I said, look, we have the ability to deliver NAR designations at cost to our members. We already made that strategic plan commitment. why don't we offer it to other associations so that they can let their members make great use of this time I mean, it's $15 a day for a class. You'll never see that again in your lifetime.
Yeah.
And so,
And just for our audience that may not be familiar, tell them the normal charge of the class.
So the normal charge for a class is like
$595
versus 15. I mean, so
right.
We're offering CIPS. I think GTAR told me they were going to offer it for say $450 when it was a live class later in the year, right? So $450 for a 5-day class. We're offering it to our members right now for $75 for 5 days.
Wow.
That makes me happy. That blows my mind, right?
Yeah.
So what I've done is I've personally called the presidents of associations that I knew, and other people that introduced me to presidents, and we have actually, those that were interested in offering it to their members and wanted to talk about collaborating and how do we use the power of the V, we offered our pricing to their members. So Naples said, amen, we want it for our people, and Marco and Sanibel and Lake and Sumter. And it's so cool because it's not about power and control or merger. It's about being a good neighbor. And so that's what right now for me being a leader means most, is how do I also learn for our members what other people are doing and open that dialogue. How can we work together? Which is exactly the spirit of what you did with this webinar. You're like, how do we get people on and learning from each other, right? There's so much wisdom and benefit in that.
And the beauty of that too is you feel the joy and the fulfillment of helping. Those associations are considerably smaller than Pro. They would never be able to pull it off on their own. So it's such a win-win for everyone. And a couple other high points that you mentioned is we are leadership focused on this program. You talk about being the calm in a storm. You talked about having a servant's heart. Those, I think, are two really key components of leadership. And I think you have it inside or you don't. You can fine tune a lot of leadership skills, but you have to be that person that steps up and is calm when everybody else is hysterical, looking for the good. Like you said, your house burned down and you were getting a little joy out of the idea that you could get insurance money for clothes that didn't suit you anymore, you know? So you have to have a positive outlook. And I think the servant's heart carries you a lot of ways. And again, like you said initially, when you take your mind off yourself, it's a lot easier to stay focused and stay in a good frame of mind. And that'll play over to your business too.
Right. And that's with the house fire. The thought, what I noticed immediately was, I believe when we get mentally unhealthy, that's the worst, that's the hardest to uncover, to undo. And so to start worrying about why would someone do this? I'm a victim, somebody hurt me, whatever. And many people could be feeling that today, right? Like, why is this happening to me? That's a hard spiral. So I protect my mind at all costs. So for me to look for the silver lining, even in this, you know, that's what I'm going to do, because that keeps me mentally in the game versus keeps my energy positive. So again, would I have preferred, not to lose every photo of my life and other stuff? Sure. And if I thought about it, I could list a whole bunch of things. But at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to change it. So all I can do is change my perception and my energy around getting through it, and then take whatever I can that's good and move on.
Love that.
I agree. Nick?
No, I love that. Protecting your mindset is a huge thing. Coming from just, that was my analogy coming from the sports world into business. There's a lot of similarities in the sports world as far as, seeing what you're going to perform and then performing it, having goals, having plans, working hard. But that mindset inside sports is the same thing. And similar to what you were talking about with what I kind of do this as well. I coach people to do this. Whenever you have like that, oh crap moment, of like things are falling apart. Everything's, how can you not get down on yourself? You have to always think about it. There's always probably a million people that have it worse than you. Right.
Mhm.
Having that gratitude, being able to say, you might not have the Cadillac or the Range Rover, the car that you ultimately want, but you have a car that runs and you can do your business with it. Right. You might not be the exact perfect shape that you want to be in 5 years right now, but you're working towards it. You're working towards a goal, and having that positive mental attitude is 100% one of the things I see successful people have versus non.
It's 100% right. And everyone, it's not a weakness or a failing when you have those oh crap thoughts or
Everybody has them.
well, I'm scared or whatever. But you don't have to dwell on it. You don't have to let it run your life. I say just move it over here and go forward as positively as you can. So Cyndee, it seems like
wait, let me just talk, because I like what Nick said. Let me just add this though. Because this, if people ask me, Jack and I got in the real estate market, when the market was tanking, like who does that? We're two income and failure's not an option, right? And when we succeeded, and really we succeeded because failure wasn't an option. But what I found, the number one thing I would tell people that I learned in the downturn that is, I am sacred with this right now, is who you surround yourself is everything.
right.
And I will not be around negativity and the doom and gloom and all of this. And, the sky is falling. And actually, you even said some stats that I would, I think the real estate we've been tracking at Pro, again, there's better news there than the news wants you to think. So I would encourage people, stay away from any Debbie Downers. Like, it's just not healthy, because you are going to become what you're around. And even if it means coming virtually on, like people like us, that's where you need to be. And there's other people out there in the real estate space that are offering stuff that I've been participating in. And that's where I would encourage people to be, because that is so, well, again, I won't be around it, because for me right now, that's like the cancer of my business, of my life,
Yeah.
But it goes to that mindset.
I agree 100%. So circling back to Pro, there was a lot of things we did immediately and did a lot of great productive things and collaborating with the other associations. So right now, effectively, your employees are all working at home, but you're open for business, as Nick says, unusual instead of business as usual.
Right.
Is that the case? Are you open at all?
Yeah. So right now, what we're doing is, and I believe there may be one person, or a limited number of a couple of our, but majority, like even David and stuff, are working from home. So at this moment, I'm not sure that anyone is. I do know we've arranged with some of the instructors that are going to be teaching the ability to enter our classrooms that have the Zoom technology by themselves to offer those classes, so they're safe, physically distanced. So I don't know the logistics of exactly who's bringing it in. And then we have by appointment the ability to get lock boxes and supplies.
Right.
Again. But I would probably check with David. I don't know that a lot of people have really taken advantage of it or have that need, but we realize that those are things that we could accommodate. And again, there's different ways to do it and still respect social distancing.
Sure. Well, how do you see this changing the role of realtor organizations going forward? Or do you see it changing the role of the realtor organizations?
So, what's interesting is I think it depends on how their leaders are responding, right? Because what I'm experiencing is the opportunity, we've read and heard in our industry forever about disruption, right? And people always think that's bad. Again, I've collaborated my whole career. I've never really worked for traditional brokerage. I've always picked the people that I want to mastermind with, and many of them around the country, just like WCR people, CRS people. And so I think associations right now have a couple of things. I think the ones that are really responding to their members, and that's at every level, right? I think they're showing value, and I think there's an ability to have a greater loyalty with people that stand in the fire, right? I think that there are places that I'm super proud of NAR and what they did to make us part of the stimulus package and deliver information. We have incredible leaders that I personally know there right now, and what they are doing is unprecedented. And I feel like we had the right leaders for the right time on this instance there. I've reached out and asked Florida Realtors and President Barry Grooms, and through my DVP, that I would love to see Florida Realtors take the lead on really helping our members and our brokerages understand how to access money. Right now, all this is out there, but if you're like me, which is the average person, I don't know what to do first, and I don't want to do something that precludes me from doing something later, right? Like, that's what I feel. And since like unemployment is a Florida organization, not a Pinellas organization, it seems to me that there'd be great leverage and opportunity if they could really take the lead. I will tell you, at the local level, again, just because of the way we think, we immediately delegated one of our staff members, Travis Norton, who works a lot in governmental affairs, and we said, we want you to be the expert on this. If no one else does anything, our members still need us. And so he is double down, diving in on exactly how can we walk our members through and guide them to get to the money that'll help them be resilient in this crisis. I do think that there could be smaller associations that have less financial depth that may find themselves in a situation where they have to talk about coming together with other people. I am less a fan of any merger talks right now. It takes time and money because I've been through them, and I think it's the wrong focus for people right now. I'm into collaboration, and so what I've done is say to people, how can I give you a hand? How can we help you? How can our staff shortcut the learning for you? Because at the end of the day, our industry is better if we're all stronger. And in the course of it, there may be some people that in associations that find themselves looking at what their future looks like. But, I believe, my mom said, to whom much is given, much is expected. And I think for those of us in a position to do it, like you said, our job is to be a neighbor right now, not an acquirer. For me, that's Cyndee Haydon talking.
No, that's good. And you and I have had this conversation publicly and privately many times over the months, that it's funny that we met over the spirit of collaboration, and now collaboration is the key to our industries, our institutions as we know them. And I too agree, it's not the time to go barracuda and make deals. It's collaboration. It's doing for other people. It's the same principle on a smaller scale as calling your clients and saying, how are you doing? How are the kids doing? How's the homeschool doing? And you don't say, and by the way, do you know anybody that wants to buy or sell?
Yeah. We talked about that last week, right? Take your sales hat off. Yeah,
it has to be genuine. And people make up an organization. So if the people in the organization are genuine, the organization will be genuine, So
let me just say one more thing. And this is again, because I've had my career be kind of non-traditional. Whether you're a fellow, like, even if brokerages are trying to recruit to me, here's the answer. If someone can't collaborate with me, it's like saying, if someone can't date me, why would I want to marry them? Period. Like, this is a time to date everybody, to help everybody. This is not a, I just think that I'm finding like-minded leaders that we look at, how do we make it win-win? How does the law of reciprocity help lift all tides and boats,
Right.
I'll give you an example. Lake and Sumter, Addie Owens, the president there, had an amazing speaker that they had on a webinar arranged, and they allowed our members to participate. And it's like, again, it was just the gift back, right? Like that's what I think right now the world needs more of, is just generosity, caring, and giving. And somewhere down the way, people will decide. That's what I think the beauty of social media is. It's no longer power and control. People choose who they like, who they want to work with, who they want to be around. And so I think crisis could sometimes show who's behind the wizard's curtain too.
Right.
Well,
Right.
just to kind of add on that, the opportunity switch, right? We talk about giving. Everybody hears about giving, right? What is clear to be focused on right now is not just giving, because giving is one thing. There's a lot of people that are going to be giving and trying to be strategic about it. It's really about giving without expectation. So if you give without expectation, then that's truly coming from a place of good, and that's what we all need to be doing. Don't take this time to be giving with a strategic plan that you know in this one time or another. That's a recipe for disaster.
And people sense it, right? It's no longer giving, that's manipulating, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference. So people are smart.
You are just such a deep, fine young man, Nick. Mother,
I'm getting some gray hairs from all my Yoda wisdom here. I don't know.
Anyway, well, speaking of gratitude, we're just so extremely grateful, Cyndee, that Pinellas Realtor Organization is one of our diamond sponsors, strategic partners, and that you are a member yourself from that meeting last fall when myself and a couple of the 2020 board members came over to talk to you all and discuss our Pinellas inclusion plan, as we were talking about it at the time, and talked about collaboration. And you guys were so welcoming and so on board and just like, yeah, we're there. And immediately you and David, for those that don't know, David Bennett, the CEO at Pro, committed to becoming actual members yourself and being leaders and leading the way of your organization. So we sincerely appreciate that. And from that has come quite a few other Pinellas realtors and great collaboration between the groups. So why do you think now more than ever it's important to support and be a member of Women's Council?
I think it goes back to what I was saying, that one, I think all of us need to look that we're surrounding ourselves with like-minded people, that we are also collaborating and sharing what's working so that it's shortcuts, for all of us. And I think that what Women's Council, and I'm still learning, but what I'm seeing is there are a lot of opportunities to grow as a leader and grow your connections around. So again, I think the spirit of Women's Council is exactly what the world needs more of, right? So
I agree. And also I want to bring up, in that spirit of collaboration and the warm welcome you gave us, you had opened your facilities to us on St. Patrick's Day, and we were supposed to have had a St. Patrick's Day meet and greet at Pinellas Realtor Organization, which got canceled with the stay at home. So, not to put you on the spot, but we want to do that. As soon as we come out of that, we'll have another meet and greet at Pro. And it would be kind of fun if it's July, August, whatever. We'll just declare St. Patty's Day again and have our green beer and
green hats. Yeah.
How does
St. Patrick's Day replay?
Yeah, exactly.
We'll call it just like Christmas in July, St. Patty's in July.
Yeah.
What do you say?
Well, we would certainly welcome that opportunity, and we were looking forward to it. I think that the good news is when we get to the other side of this, I think people are going to be anxious and excited to see each other face to face. So we may have a better turnout, better energy, who knows? But and if I could just share kind of a couple of quick data things so people feel wherever they are about the situation, what we're seeing is, there's a lot of talk about, is this 2008? And I think that's the whole, worry for people, right? And I would just say to my fellow WCR members that, really we're seeing more and more that this is like the .com 9/11. right? That came at us from nowhere. A plane hit a building, took it down, and then, a day we were in shock and awe. I mean, we didn't know. I mean, America never had that happen. And we're in a similar situation with this pandemic. The interesting thing is that during 9/11 and the dot-com bubble, the stock market dropped 45%. It took a huge hit. But, the housing market went up 24% because the fundamentals were strong. So people had to pause, things were that, but it went back. And so unlike 2008, which was much more like a hurricane that hit the financial institutions with a lot of problems, when you look at Mexico Beach, it'll take years to rebuild that infrastructure. But, again, that's completely different. I mean, we live in a market that is, the numbers for all three, and just to tell you, we sold more things in March than we did in February in Pinellas County. And basically, we're looking at about 2.5 months or less inventory in all three counties, Pasco, Hilton, and Pinellas. So people want.
It's getting tighter. It's getting tighter.
And there's one more thing just to share, that our real estate business, our mortgage business, we're not like restaurants and hotels. When a meal's gone or a night's gone, they can never get it back. They can never get it back if that one's gone, right? But the pent-up demand and the people looking and the people that still had a real reason to sell and a real reason to buy exists. And so, what we are seeing in the market right now is real people are acting. And what we're anticipating is, quite honestly, we may see even a boost out of the Northeast, because there are a lot of people that it's been on the radar, and conversations we've had are changing. So I think now's the time for all of us to work together to get our skills down, to be better, right? Everything we do is good. Now we need to be able to do it, in technology, using this, and help more people that are going to need us. But one last thing, if anybody noticed, did you notice how the minute this hit, the iBuyers hit for the hills, right? We've all been hearing about a computer can do our job. And guess what? If the market's going up, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to, buy stock. But all of a sudden, the first blip, and they canceled contracts and hit the road. So I'm excited, because now more than ever, clients are going to need experienced
advisor,
leaders like us. So we're, stay positive, but, use your time wisely is what I'm doing.
Zillow can't pass out their $5,000 cancellation checks fast enough.
No.
That's what they're doing.
Cyndee, it's always such a pleasure and so refreshing to talk to you. And it just scares me so much how much we're on the same wavelength and mindset, and we really haven't known each other that long, because before you interjected, my very first next question on my paper is, Cyndee, do you have a market forecast for 2020? What do you think is going to happen in the local real estate market?
Well, just to add on that from a marketing perspective, the clients that I have right now that I'm actively running ads for in my calling team that's booking appointments, our cost per lead has gone down about 30%. Our impressions have gone up about 40%, which means more people are seeing our ads, more people are calling and booking for a cheaper price than we've seen in the past 12 months. So it is a great time right now as a marketer, especially in the real estate space. People are out, people are buying, people are looking. And like you said, it's not a restaurant. People always need a place to live.
And as I've assured clients, I've been taking a little time every day in between my Zoom appointments and webinars and everything I'm doing. And clients are like, well, you think my house value is going to go down? You think my house value is going to go down? And I said, I don't have that crystal ball, but the beauty of real estate, if your house value goes down, it's cyclical, it will come up. But in the meantime, you have a beautiful place to stay. You can't hunker down under your stock certificates. So
tell them it doesn't matter if it goes up or down unless they're selling, right? I mean, it's
what I'm saying, you have a multi-purpose. It's not just an investment. It's your home. It's your family. So all of that comes into play. So we're going to start closing up here. It's been a pleasure. This is my ending question for these episodes, and I'm always a lemonade out of lemons person. So I want you to tell us what you think is the absolute best thing that has come out of this current situation.
For me or for WCR or for what?
For you,
Okay.
Pinellas Realtor, it's
Yeah,
basically
anything.
what you've observed, what's affecting you.
So I think the best part is that my schedule stays pretty busy, and sometimes my family doesn't get as much of me. And so the opportunity to have all this time together and have what I'm finding is the work I'm doing again is with serious buyers and sellers, but it frees up some other time to spend quality family time with less distractions, game nights and other stuff. And my son, who's in the Army, happened to just hit it right. He got home the day before they quit moving stuff, and I got to spend 2 weeks with him here before he left yesterday to go to his first station. So I I would have been traveling with David had things been normal. We would have been in France and London, just different stuff.
Right.
So really, I think a lot of people are finding almost back to like 1950s kind of quality opportunity through just the forced, social distancing. So it's been cool to kind of slow down and smell the roses and just, you know, remember what's really most important, especially as other people are seeing, people die, people get sick. I see Mary Colgan there. It's like she's had a bout, and it's like, at the end of the day, while real estate really matters and we help a lot of people by the job and the service we provide, our own family is ultimately, for most of us, the most precious thing. And it's a great time to step back and just really be grateful for that. And we're having a time to get to spend with them that will probably none of us ever forget.
Right, right. And I think that's a wonderful point. And family first. And those of us, I'm guilty. They get caught up in real estate and leadership and all these other things. And sometimes your actual time with your family takes the back burden. But as you said, with social distancing now, you're playing more board games, whatever. I'd
Yep.
like to get rid of that word social distancing and
Yes.
just call it physical distancing. In a way, we're getting more social
You're right.
than we were. I'm calling friends and relatives I haven't talked to in a long time just to make sure they're okay. So it's physical distancing. So that being said, Cyndee, I want to thank you so much. Nick, do you have any questions for Cyndee before she leaves?
No, I think we're good. I've been monitoring the chat. There's a lot of people just giving a lot of love, throughout this, saying teamwork, WCR rocks. We definitely appreciate everybody being on here live. I don't see any actual questions for either of us, for any of us, all three of us on the call. So yeah, we're give it a few seconds here and see if anybody's got any questions to
I
pose
saw
right now.
green beer. I saw David said, "Bring the green
Yeah.
beer." He's
So,
Mary says,
wrap
love
it
the
up.
physical distancing. Yeah, we like that.
Me
If
too.
you have any questions, put them in. But in the meantime, I want to thank Cyndee again. Of course, I want to thank Nick, Amplified Marketing, for putting this on for us, and remind you that we will have a Facebook Live replay. And this, along with anything else you see from Women's Council, remember to like and share, like and share. We do some paid reach, but we need all the organic reach that we can get. Women's Council news. We promised you a value proposition in the beginning of the year. We hope we continue to live up to that. You should have received your monthly newsletter. We're still planning to have Matt Jones, Victory National Speaker, in May. If it turns out it's virtual, well, then it will be virtual and it'll be fine. But either way, we're going to deliver you that great programming. We also, thank you, Nick, opened our closed Facebook group that is specifically for sharing concerns, questions. What are you doing to market during this time? What are you doing about showings? Whatever your questions and concerns. And that is proprietary as for Women's Council members and strategic partners. So be sure to go on there. Nick, is there a link from the regular Facebook?
If you're on Facebook and you go to the groups, just search for Women's Council of Realtors Tampa, and it'll pop up. You'll be able to find it. I'll put it in the comments of this as well, so everybody will have the link. But it is for WCR members only, and we wanted to keep it a closed environment. It's not public for anybody to join. It's just for members, for us to collaborate and really help each other grow.
And remember, we also have Mentor on Demand that has been in place precipitously since the beginning of the year, a team of seasoned agents that are there to help and mentor you. Go to WCRTampa.com, go to the Mentor tab, and there's a number of people that'll be willing to talk to you. Also, on our newsletter, there's a link. National has come up with an entire program, a day's worth of video and Zoom and all kinds of events that you can use. As Cyndee says, use this time wisely, educationally. And so there we are. We're at the close of another segment. I want to thank you all for participating. Wishing you and your family family's the best, your business is the best. We're here for you. Let's stick together. Let's talk on our closed Facebook group. Let's continue to like and share. And together we'll get through this. We'll see you next Wednesday at 1:00. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Bye, Cyndee.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.